Over 300 years ago, a young soldier in France stood in winter looking at a bare tree, stripped of every leaf, apparently dead. And in that single ordinary moment, staring at a winter tree, he was suddenly overwhelmed by the greatness and love of God. It never left him. In his own words, he says, "God did me a glorious favor in bringing me to a conversion at the age of 18. In the winter, I saw a tree stripped of its leaves, and I knew that within a little time the leaves would be renewed, and that afterwards the flowers and the fruit would appear. From this, I received a high view of the power and providence of God, which has never since departed from my soul." From that moment, he spent the rest of his life discovering how to find God, not in dramatic visions or mystical experiences, but in the most ordinary moments of daily life. His name was Brother Lawrence, and the secret he discovered in a monastery kitchen has quietly transformed the lives of spiritual seekers for more than 300 years. Welcome to Ascend and Awaken, timeless wisdom for awakening and inner peace. Brother Lawrence was born Nicholas Herman around 1611 in the Lorraine region of France, poor, uneducated, and by his own honest account, clumsy and awkward. He briefly served as a soldier and was wounded in battle, leaving him with a lifelong disability that made him, in his own words, a great awkward fellow who broke everything. He eventually entered a Carmelite monastery in Paris, the same order as Teresa of Avila and St. John of the Cross, as a lay brother rather than a priest. He was not assigned to prayer or teaching or theology. He was assigned to the kitchen. He spent the next 30 years washing dishes, peeling vegetables, cooking meals, and running errands for the monastery. And it was there, in that noisy, ordinary, repetitive kitchen, that he discovered what most spiritual seekers spend lifetimes searching for. Not in silence, not in formal prayer, not in mystical experience, while washing dishes. After his death in 1691, his letters and conversations were collected by a friend and published as a small book. The Practice of the Presence of God is one of the shortest spiritual books ever written. It has never gone out of print. And for over 3 centuries, it has quietly found its way to the people who need it most. Ordinary people, living ordinary lives, who wonder if God is somehow only available in sacred moments and sacred places. Brother Lawrence's answer, with the quiet certainty of someone who found it in a kitchen, is no. The teaching at the heart of Brother Lawrence's life is truly simple. God is present in every moment, not just the sacred moments, not just the morning prayer or the Sunday service or the meditation retreat. Every moment, including and especially the ones that feel most ordinary. And the practice is simply this: learning to recognize and return to that presence continuously throughout the day. In his own words, he says, "The time of business does not differ with me from the time of prayer. And in the noise and clatter of my kitchen, while several persons are at the same time calling for different things, I possess God in as great tranquility as if I were upon my knees." I'll say that again. The noise and clatter of the kitchen, multiple people calling for different things simultaneously, the most chaotic version of ordinary daily life. And in the middle of all of it, he possesses God in as great tranquility as if he were on his knees in prayer. Not because he has mastered some advanced spiritual technique, not because he is naturally serene or gifted. This is the man who called himself clumsy and awkward, who said he entered the monastery expecting to be punished for all the things inevitably break. He found this not through natural ability, but through one simple repeated practice, returning again and again and again throughout the day. A thought of God, a moment of recognition, a quiet interior turning toward the presence that was always already there. Here's what makes Brother Lawrence genuinely radical among spiritual teachers. He abandoned all formal methods. He says, "I have abandoned all particular forms of devotion, all prayer techniques. My only prayer practice is attention. I carry on a habitual, silent, and secret conversation with God that fills me with overwhelming joy. No techniques, no methods, no specific posture or time or place or formula, just attention. Just this continuous, gentle returning of awareness toward the God who is, always already present in the kitchen, in the garden, in the errand, in the conversation, in the quiet, in the noise. This is precisely what the way of mastery points toward, the moment-by-moment choice to remain in the awareness of love's presence, not as a formal practice with a beginning and an end, but as a way of moving through an entire day. Brother Lawrence discovered the same truth in a 17th century monastery kitchen that the way of mastery describes in the language of the 21st century. The presence was always here. The practice is simply remembering. One of Brother Lawrence's most beloved and most quoted lines is this: "It is not the greatness of the work which matters to God, but the love with which it is done." This is the liberation at the heart of his teaching. You do not need to be doing something important to be in the presence of God. You do not need to be in a significant moment. You do not need to be performing a sacred duty or fulfilling a spiritual calling. You need only to be doing whatever you are doing with love. Washing the dishes with love, preparing a meal with love, running an errand with love, having a difficult conversation with love, sitting in traffic with love. The work does not need to be great. The love does. And the love, Brother Lawrence discovered, is always available because it is not yours to generate. It is simply God's love flowing through you when you choose to remain in his presence. He says, "We ought not to be weary of doing little things for the love of God, who regards not the greatness of the work, but the love with which it is performed." What Brother Lawrence describes as the practice of the presence is really a conversation, an ongoing, intimate, uninterrupted conversation with God that runs beneath and through every moment of the day. He says, the most holy and necessary practice in our spiritual life is the presence of God. That means finding constant pleasure in his divine company, speaking humbly and lovingly with him in all seasons, at every moment, without limiting the conversation in any way. Without limiting the conversation in any way. Not just in the chapel, not just in the morning meditation, not just in the moments when life feels sacred and meaningful, in all seasons, at every moment, in the noise and in the silence, in the success and in the failure, in the clarity and the confusion. God is not somewhere waiting for you to arrive at the right moment with the right posture and the right words. God is here right now, in this moment, waiting not to be summoned, but to be noticed. Brother Lawrence says, "You need not cry very loud. He is nearer to us than we think." Before the closing invitation, I want to share what this practice looks like in my own ordinary daily life, because Brother Lawrence was not describing something available only to 17th century monks. Each morning, I begin my day with some quiet time and giving gratitude for another wonderful day to be of service. Then I do a short meditation where I center myself to greet the day. This is my version of Brother Lawrence's kitchen, the place where I begin the conversation. And then I step into my day, and I do my best, not always successfully, to carry that presence with me, into my breakfast, into my workout or morning walk, into my daily conversations, into the ordinary, unremarkable moments that make up most of my life. I am not always successful. Some days the ego is back in charge before I finish my first cup of coffee. But my goal each day is to be a bit more present than the day before. Some days I am, and some days I'm not. And for the days I'm not, I give myself grace and start the next day with that same goal. And that, Brother Lawrence would say, is exactly the practice. Not perfection, not arrival, just a faithful, gentle, daily returning to the presence that was never actually absent. The tree in winter knew this. It did not strive to produce its leaves. It simply remained what it was, and in the right season, everything came forth. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Ascend and Awaken. Today's invitation is this. Choose one ordinary task today, something you do every day without much thought. Washing the dishes, making your coffee or tea, walking to your car. And as you do it, just once, offer it. A simple, quiet thought, I do this in your presence. I do this with love. Not as a religious formula, just as a moment of recognition that God is here, in this ordinary moment, as present as he has ever been anywhere. That is Brother Lawrence's entire teaching, practiced in 30 seconds, available to you right now. Share in the comments, is there an ordinary moment in your day where you are already feel closest to God? I would genuinely love to hear. If Ascend and Awaken supports your journey, consider subscribing for more reflections on timeless wisdom, spiritual awakening, and inner peace. Until next time, peace, love, and light to you on your spiritual journey.